Well, hello, Dima. How are you doing, my friend?
I am doing great. Tired, but great. What about you?
Tired. I had to get some adrenaline going to get going for the show, so I completely understand.
What did you do?
Oh, I did a few push-ups. I also had to come up these stairs, and it didn't really hurt that I was kind of late.
Oh,
It didn't hurt. It didn't hurt that I needed to hustle upstairs.
yeah, me too. I went and I walked outside.
Yeah.
So just to get my energy up. But now we're cool. Our energy is up, and
We're
we
there.
have an absolutely amazing guest today. One of my favorite people in the whole entire world.
Nice.
Let's bring in Katie Pryor.
Let's do it. Katie, come on in. Katie. We got it. Hi, Katie. How are you doing?
I'm well. Thanks for having me. Dima, that is quite an intro. I will try to live up to it.
Oh, we didn't need too much of an intro. You come highly recommended, apparently, because we already have a few comments on the show. We hadn't even started yet. So just saying. Tommy Talley, I know that's Tommy Talley. We had him last week. So if you know film or video, you know Tommy Talley, just saying. And then the other piece of that is our friend Nanette Gray from Lemonade Creative Marketing talking about yay, Katie. And then, Dima had to tag you. And then hello, whoever you are, someone in the universe, the Facebook universe. Good to have you. So, Katie, I mean, there's a lot of hype, a lot of excitement for the show. We're talking about films. I mean, this is great. What can you tell us about you, just to introduce yourself to our viewers tonight?
Well, we'll go through the me part fast because I feel like everybody wants to talk about film in Hollywood. That's the fun part. I'm the film commissioner here in Baton Rouge. I have worked on and off film for several years and dipped into politics and political activism and those kind of issues along the way. But landed here in 2017, and that's when the new incentives in Louisiana went into effect. And it's been fun. It's been fun. Me in a nutshell, I guess, hobby cook, Pilates instructor, and one of 4 children. So interrupt whenever you want. I'm very used to it.
I love that, because I'll get slapped on the hand if I interrupt at the house. Just saying.
No. We used to say, if you lose your breath, you lose your turn. So just jump in. Yeah.
Look, Dima's always trying to interrupt me. I'm just, she's brutal sometimes. I'm lying, right?
I can't believe you said that. Like last show, I was so waiting to even have a breath to speak. And then Rob would be like, "What do you think, Dima?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've been waiting for 20 minutes to say one word."
Yep.
So, yeah.
That's about right.
I want to start by a quick story of how Katie and I met. So, Katie, can you share how we met?
Yeah, you want to tell the story, or you want me to tell the story?
You go ahead.
So I had a stalker girl crush on Dima. I read about her and her efforts and what she was doing in the community and for women advancement. And I sent her, I creeped her, got her info, and sent her a note that was basically like, "Hey, we need to be friends. I really love what you're doing in the community, and I'd like to know how I could help." And so we met for pasta, how all good friendships start, and had a lovely lobster mac and cheese, I remember.
Wow, yes. Little Village.
At Little Village. And have been great friends ever since. It worked.
I love it. Yeah, I was IBM, and I got this email that says, "I think we should be friends," and I just absolutely loved it. And it turned out to be such an amazing friendship. So I'm grateful for that. So
I learned so much from you.
Thank you. Well, me too. So, Katie, with all the changes that we're experiencing in 2020, with social justice, with the pandemic, how is that impacting the movie industry, and what are some of the things you're realizing that is changing?
So that question alone, I feel like could take our entire time slot. So if I start going a little too far, y'all cut me off. But let's break it down and start with the pandemic, because there are 2 very big issues there. So the pandemic has affected the film industry in a lot of ways. Technical advancements, because we've had to change and modify things. The consumption rates of entertainment are at an all-time high. Everybody was home for a long period of time and they watched everything. And then the pipeline of content was not only delayed and interrupted, but it was, I don't think a lot of people realize that it was shifted. Some of the major studios have 10 years out or more slated, you know when you're going to have Avatar 50 made. And now we had to rearrange that entire pipeline because you had to look at when it was going to be safe to have large groups together again. So when we are making content again, you're probably going to see a shift in content to be maybe a little bit smaller scale, fewer characters, more closed scenes, and that kind of thing. The tech advancements have been incredible. So did you guys watch Mandalorian on Disney Plus?
Well, I saw they released something about it today too, right?
Yeah, so new episodes at the end of next month, I believe. But they used virtual production stage space, which is absolutely incredible. So imagine this all behind me being a green screen. I'm acting in front of it. Yeah, great. And then I look on the screen and see it. Now imagine if that were the actual scene and I'm as an actor, I'm immersed in it and can experience it. And that's how The Mandalorian shot. So for more, to skip the whole going down that road, for more details on that, go to YouTube and find behind the scenes for Mandalorian.
Wow.
So those are the tech advancements you're seeing in the industry response. And then you'll see a creative response on what's being made. And then when it's going to get made, which is kind of where we are right now. So that would be the COVID effect, I think, on the industry. And I will say, shout out to the entire film industry because they have been so incredibly thorough and cautious with every studio and every union and every group coming up with just guidelines to the nth degree and very, very careful to protect everyone. And I think other industries have not responded as quickly. And I said, kudos creatives. And the other question was the social aspect, everything we're dealing with right now. And I would say the number one reason that I'm so happy to be in this job and to be involved in the creative process at all is because it can, in places where education and political leadership is hard to get their message across, everyone's got a screen. Even in undeveloped nations, everyone's got a screen. And with that comes responsibility. And I think there's a responsibility for storytellers and content creators. And right now we're in a place where the American palette and the world palette is ready to hear these messages from voices that have been silenced by the large scale studios and the lack of representation in other places and outdated leadership ideas and things like that. And those voices are no longer being silenced. And it's about time. And now this is a venue for them to really offer, to educate and to show culture and to show hope and future goals and all that. I think entertainment is one of the most powerful educators. And that's both wonderful and very dangerous because it can be misfocused. So that's my answer to that.
Well, Katie, what about, there's a third one too that we just experienced, and to acknowledge, what's happened in Southwest Louisiana right now with the storms. So with all those people impacted, I mean, not only, I guess, with viewership, with dollars, with tax dollars, whatever, just the sheer devastation and the amount of, I guess, the sheer amount of it that's got to have some impact on our film industry as well, right? I mean, I know the hubs and the hotspots are typically New Orleans, Baton Rouge, and some of those, but you got to think Lake Charles and Cameron. That area also has some rich resources that typically get on film occasionally. So will we see an impact in the film industry with the storms?
Yeah, I think so. The people, there are a lot of independent filmmakers that live in those areas too that shoot very cultural, impactful Louisiana projects. And when something like this happens, unfortunately, it puts a lot of that on hold. That being said, I think tragedy brings about art because it needs expression. So I wouldn't, we had an amazing documentary come out by some Baton Rouge about the flood here in 2016. You have a lot of material about Katrina. I mean, I think the Louisiana spirit is just unbelievable. And, we've been hit by, 2020 in general, but we've been hit by a lot of different things and we've always come back from it. And I think our art and our creativity is something that's always risen to the top there. And then for the larger scale films, those are iconic Louisiana looks, right? So those are where people would go, and now it's not as readily available.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, Katie, tell us about some actors and actresses you got to meet in person.
You know, it's funny. I get that question a lot, and I feel like I have to preface by saying the conversations I have with those people are so like practically scripted. Like I am like, thank you so much for coming. This is the economic value, blah blah blah. And they say, oh, you know, I love filming here. I'll film here all the time. And then we kind of awkwardly look around, and then I'm usually like, so where have you eaten? Because I have recommendations, and then it goes into a real conversation. But so before I was a film commissioner, or just as a film commissioner, do you want to know both?
Oh yeah, tell us both. Wow.
So my first paycheck ever, I think I was in like 5th or 6th grade. I was a featured extra in Disney's Tom and Huck, and they came to my tiny little Alabama town called Mooresville, Alabama. And if you don't know it, look it up. It's a time capsule of charm. And I don't know if you guys remember Jonathan Taylor Thomas. Does that name ring a bell?
Oh yeah, JTT.
Yeah, that was the first movie star I met. He's only a couple years older than me, and he was very gracious, showed us around set. We sat in his chair, got photographed, and all that fun stuff. So that was the first one. And then when I worked film in New Orleans and a little bit in Baton Rouge, I worked with Forrest Whitaker right after his Oscar, and he is a phenomenal actor. I met Michael B. Jordan, a very, very, very polite, extremely polite young man. I say young man, also my age. Who else? And then here in Baton Rouge, as the film commissioner, met Tom Hanks, everybody's favorite American dad actor.
Greyhound, baby. Woo, woo.
If you haven't seen it, go check it out. Broke streaming records. It was fantastic. And Josh Hartnett, Nick Nolte when they did Paradise Lost, and Bridget Reagan. And, so I meet a couple of the actors. And for me, the celebrity is really meeting some of the writers, directors, and producers. And they're not as well known. And it's crazy because like if you see them in public and they're walking by a group of people, I kind of think to myself, like, you have no idea who that is. Like the John Lee Hancocks of the world, you know, it's crazy to meet those people.
So you were an extra. I mean, I was going to ask you earlier what led you down this path, and you know, how do you get to be a film commissioner? I mean, that sounds amazing. But you know, how do you sort of make the journey, or how did your travels end up from Alabama to here in Baton Rouge with the Film Commission and meeting Tom Hanks and other amazing people?
My story is guided by God's sense of humor. So I was born and raised in Alabama. We had some movies there. I have a couple of filmmakers in the family. Never really thought about going into film, and went to Ole Miss for 2 years, LSU for 2 years. So I finished LSU, triple degree in liberal arts. Super helpful. And then, just saying, and then wound up working in public relations, which kind of led me to politics. And in between that, I would get a call. I got a call from someone that said I had just been working PR, and she called and she said, "Hey, randomly, do you want to be a sports stunts coordinator in a film?" And I was like, "Sure, of course. What is that?" So I went down and I did it, and which is hysterical because, especially for a Southern girl, I know nothing about sports, nothing. So basically, for this film, I had to go find 30 people that look like they'd be playing, you know, professional basketball, but don't. And then we would get them on and stage it where it looked like a real game for film or television commercial or whatnot. And I wound up the sports consultant that was on that film, and I became friends, and I wound up working on and off with him whenever he had a project in the area for 7 years. I would just take off work and go do a basketball commercial or a baseball movie or whatever, and still know nothing about sports. In fact, when you asked me about celebrities, I was trying to remember the athletes I had met. Can't remember who was in the Nike commercial. Can't remember who was in the movies. But they were tall and very polite. But yeah, so then I was then I was working in politics, and I kind of packed up film entirely, and that's where I met Mayor Sharon Weston Broome. And then when she became, that was before she was mayor, when she became mayor, she knew about my past in film and wanted to take more of a marketing PR approach and an economic development approach to film. And with all that background, she was like, hey, you fit, which is funny because it's kind of an odd cocktail. It's an odd resume to be like, oh, wow, that one does, check, 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 check. Okay, that works. So that's how I got here.
Wow.
I never heard that story. I didn't know. I always was curious why you got contacted by the mayor. So it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, politics, film, PR, very interesting, fun messaging background.
And it all started with Jonathan Taylor Thomas. Never would have got that ever.
Let's maybe not make that like.
That would make sense. That would make sense.
It was fun. And my cousin's a filmmaker, and he had done a couple of projects. He did a documentary called The Man Who Ate New Orleans, and I had spent time on sets down there and spent time with sets with him. And I don't know, people just kept inviting me to sets, and so I just kept getting involved in movies.
That's awesome.
And it's funny, anybody you talk to who's in the film industry, you ask, and I hate it because the number one question you get from people who want in the industry is, hey, how did that happen? And the story is always the same. Oh, I kind of fell into it. Oh, I kind of fell into it. That's what everybody says. And it's kind of true for me too.
I would like to fall into it. How can I fall into it?
I know. Everyone's like, I want to fall into it. I'm like, I don't know what happened. I just got phone calls. It was like, hey, come hang out on set. Come do this job. Like, just always be open to a new opportunity. And I think was it Benjamin Franklin? You guys correct me on this. Who said, if someone asks you if you know how to do something, you say yes and then figure it out real quick.
Yeah.
And that was
who said it, but
yeah, someone was like, hey, we'll do sports coordinating. Okay. And then I was like, sure. Just trying to figure it out. Yeah.
I've watched a sport. I could coordinate.
Yeah.
I coordinate all the time. I can one. No problem.
Like, that ball is supposed to end up in that net. Yeah. So that was the extent of my expertise. Luckily, when I got there, most of mine was just casting and organizing, and the real professionals took over, and they made it look like incredible. It's really incredible to see the magic that happens behind the scenes. And for me, in sports films especially, it was cool to see it's choreographed. It's basically a dance. You know, each game is choreographed because they shoot it 1,000 times to get the right shot. So you need everyone in the exact same spot. Maybe if I had choreographed in high school, I would have been worth the damn in sports. Sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Come on now. But I guess, Dima, do you want to say something?
Good learning. That's good. I'm just so impressed with your background. And I kept thinking about how your political experience, how it's helping you right now. Because I never thought of film and politics, but it is obviously very linked together, like economic development, the incentives, all of this. So tell us more about that.
Well, I think the truth of the matter is money, politics, and film are all in that triangle of power. And I think, Reagan was an actor. You have other people that have a lot of political sway that got their fame in Hollywood. And there's a reason you have political candidates endorsed by Hollywood, because the perception of I'll receive information from this or whatnot. And then the power of entertainment, like we were talking about earlier. I just think that it's a very thin line. And I was asked recently from a friend of mine if I'd ever be interested in going back to strictly politics 100% of the time. And I wouldn't, because I think there's a way that you can affect change in entertainment, because people are apt to receive it, that you can't through speeches and Facebook campaigns and all that political messaging and rallies and things like that. But I don't think that answered your question. Where I digress. Where was I going with that?
No, I think it helps a lot, because I was mentioning I never linked them together, politics and film. But obviously with
we look at the incentives and a lot of what we do on the city level, and then the strong film leadership we have on the state level is educating legislators on the benefits of the industry here and the job creation and what it really means to have a film here. I mean, yeah, it's great to have something shot here and people get excited and to see celebrities, but I mean, Greyhound spent $50 million. They spent millions of dollars in payroll. They bought from local vendors, and every production's like that. And we talk about the big numbers because they wow and make a difference. But I'd like to give a shout out too to all the independent. People call my office to get permitted and they're like, oh, it's tiny, it's a $3,000 budget. And I'm like, you are contributing to this economy. You are building a skill set with people you have there. You are training people. You are still using resources. And literally I want to know about every production. If you're spending $10 on your production, $5, $5,000, I want to know. Because you're part of the economy and it's a very important part. So to grow it.
Katie, it does seem like it would be linked. I mean, but do you have to interface with the folks at Celtic? Do you work with the groups over at LED? How?
It's the film industry in Louisiana is very much like the fraternity of people. Everyone's very friendly. Everyone's, someone was asking me, I'm a member of the Association of Film Commissioners International, and someone was asking me if I get along with other people in my market. Like, yeah, Carol Morton is a phenomenal film commissioner, and she's in New Orleans, and there's no competition there. We'll both recommend the other person. And then the state provides support for everyone, so we work with them all the time. Of course, Celtic is the biggest attraction for large-scale productions for our area. So we partner on absolutely everything we can. A great group of people, and happy to work with them any chance I get.
Are you seeing any trends in the industry? I mean, I know that you said earlier the technology's adapting because of, just because of the pandemic or because we've had to adapt and overcome. Are you seeing any other shifts, or were there shifts happening before? I know we see a lot of, Netflix, Apple TV. We're seeing a lot of that original content being produced. Does that mean more for the Louisiana film economy? Like, are we going to see more and more of that to come?
Yeah, I think that you tapped on the trend. The biggest trend right now is the fact that the box office model is very different. As COVID and before COVID, you were seeing you were seeing a spike in the way people consumed entertainment. Everybody streams, and it's not just about an hour and a half film. A lot of people want to know they're watching limited series. They want to binge something as soon as they get it and watch 10 hours of it. And the consumers change and the market's been needing to meet that. And so with a spike in streaming and a little bit longer content delivered in a different way, you see people making basically television shows, which I think is going to be the trend that we see. Longer commitments to areas is what that means for a film commission. So if somebody comes in to shoot a film, depending on the film, they could be here anywhere from 3 months to 10 months. And, if you come shoot a series and you've got 5 or 6 seasons planned, you're working 9 months out of the year for 5-6 years. So it's a different animal. And I think those are the trends. And I think you're going to see them in Louisiana and you're going to see them everywhere because streaming is going to, the numbers in streaming are just, and everybody's coming to the game. It used to be just Netflix and Amazon Prime, and now you got Disney Plus, you got Peacock, you got Hulu, you got Quibi, you've got dozens of different things. And one of the benefits of that too, and another trend that I really like is where you used to have maybe 6 blockbusters or 4 or less blockbusters from a major studio in a year, that was trying to get as many people as possible there. Now you have so many avenues for different stories to be told. So if you maybe aren't interested in seeing a Marvel movie every 5 months at the theater, which I am, I'm not knocking them, I'm just saying, if that's not your palette, you now can find your group of films, and that has been able to give a lot of filmmakers an opportunity that might not have had an opportunity before to make content and culturally relevant content across the world. So I think that's where I talk about the power of entertainment really coming into play. And you see people wanting to tell the stories, like in Louisiana, you see people wanting to tell Louisiana stories, and most people incentivize that. Like Louisiana, we have incentives specifically for Louisiana-made projects. People who are residents of Louisiana who wrote the screenplay, they get benefits, and then a lot of other film commissions have the same thing: additional incentives for local content.
Well, now some of those incentives that you talk about, weren't they taken away or challenged at some point a few years back? And now it seems like they're back in full force, and we are Hollywood South again.
So in July 2017, the new incentives went into effect. We've had filming in Louisiana for a very, very, very long time. Our peak years were, I think, about 09 to 13, with a really steady increase in 12 and 13. We're crazy busy. In 20, I know this off the top of my head. What year was it that we changed? 2015 or 2014? 2015 maybe. We changed the incentives, and we went back and changed them in July of 2017 to a much more stable program. And we gave it a couple of years, and it started looking really good. It looked like something we could support long term. Our governor supported it. The governor went out to LA and touted the program to studios, so that we had, to show that we have not only this wonderful incentive program, but we have leadership support in the state. I think it really was a game changer. And it was a learning process. We had to tweak a lot of things about the incentives from when we first started filming. I think the first incentive rolled out in like 92. And so it was a learning curve. And then what we have now has proven to be very strong and sustainable, which is the most important part.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's absolutely amazing. So when I think of you, Katie, in addition to all the wonderful things you were mentioning, I think of leadership. So people, it's interesting how in our community, we have certain people that we keep hearing about over and over and over, but there are individuals that are doing amazing work that we don't know much about. And I think you're one of these people, Katie, where you're doing such a wonderful job, whether for our economy or for the film industry in general. But I also think of leadership. So tell us about leadership. What does it mean to you? And tell us about some of the amazing stories you're doing to continue to develop personally, but also your team member.
Well, thank you. Well, first off, coming from you, an expert in leadership, that is quite the compliment. Thank you very much.
My praise.
And then I would say, we're always trying to become better. Everybody's trying to become better leaders to whomever they can. I try and give back. I teach at LSU, or taught at LSU last semester. I'll hopefully, when we're back in the classroom, do it again. And try to meet with those people, give them realistic expectations of the future, give them strategies to maybe how to advance themselves and where to practice or whatnot. And a big thing for me too is leadership, teacup leadership. So not necessarily like the large grand scale of like that would get you mentioned necessarily in the papers, but also the smaller scale stuff where you meet someone who, might have graduated college magna cum laude, but doesn't know how to write a resume. So we'll sit down and go through that and learn how to write a resume. I find a lot of people don't know negotiation skills or don't know how to interview. And these are things that I find aren't frequently taught. And actually the class I taught at LSU started because I was discussing with one of the film professors that I would love to do a seminar on how to be a new grad. So how to write the resume, how to seek out a job, how to do a follow-up, how to write a thank you note, these kind of things. And he was like, just teach a class, which turned into the economic value of film, which turned into a totally different class. But we did touch on the subject. So I try and meet with whoever I can, whoever asks. I have an open door policy. And if I can be of assistance just to listen or maybe offer some advice and maybe help people skip some things I did wrong along the way and if I do them right, I try to.
One of the stories I remember that you shared with me, you told me about a woman, a young female that applied for a job, and there was something about negotiation where I can't remember the story, but you were like, okay, hold on, it wasn't an interview. Let's discuss this. And you were teaching her how to speak differently as part of the interview in the interview. So what was the story?
She was interviewing with me, and I think a little bit into it, we had connected, and it was obviously, a good personality jive, but it wasn't a fit for the job, and I think we could both easily recognize that. And so I kind of was like, all right, let's put the brakes on this and let's make this useful for you. Let's talk about how this process feels for you or what you experienced and maybe how to. And so we went through, because she didn't, when we talked about salary, you know, what are your expectations? What do you expect of this job? She was just like, whatever you want, whatever you say, whatever you do. And I was like, maybe next
Hold on, yeah.
yeah, I was like, maybe next interview you go on. And we talked about maybe what job she really did want. We identified some fields that maybe she'd be more interested in. And then we developed a strategy for presenting herself in a more humble but yet authoritative way, so that she could walk in off the gate, not just being like, I'll take whatever you give me. And but it was an incredible experience, because I just, you know, and kudos to her for creating the kind of environment where I can be like, okay, let's call it. We both know it's not working, but let's work on this for you. And we wound up talking for maybe 2 hours. And she has since gone on and interviewed and got another job.
I love it.
That was fun. I forgot about that, Dima. Thanks.
Love that on the spot coaching. I mean, but that's a valuable lesson learned. I mean, I've been in those positions.
Place.
What's that?
I said radical candor has its place, you know?
Yeah. Well, did you read the book, or you just think radical candor has its place?
I actually have the book right here, which is actually my next book to read. That's why.
Nice. Oh, it's good. It's very good.
Yeah, I've been told it's very good. I'm hoping
how many people said it's a great book. I can't even explain, and I keep writing it, and I keep forgetting to buy it. I'm gonna buy it.
It's worth the buy.
Yeah,
it's worth the buy. I think I gave it to my entire management team, and I first heard about it from Kenny Wynn of 368, and if he was going to recommend it, I knew I needed to read it. So yeah. I did, loved it, but it's interesting you said that, and I wanted to follow back up about you doing that. I mean, that is a huge display of leadership and also effort and compassion, because and some empathy there, because you took a moment that you could have called it. I'm sure you probably could have called it in 10 or 15 minutes or less, and you stuck it out. And I'm sure that person is extremely thankful for that time that you gave.
Well, I appreciate it. In my development process, I've appreciated the honesty delivered with candor. Let's be clear. I've appreciated kind honesty and the reviews that have helped. And I think if you can, I think most people are open to that level of honesty and cooperation and collaboration. If you, whoever's perceived as the authority in that moment, if you're the one to say, okay, let's be real here. No games. Like, what's going to happen? And I've had people be courteous enough to do that for me. So send the elevator back down.
On. Gotta love that.
Wow.
Dima, would you like to say anything?
Yeah, I'm
cool. This is amazing. I love it. Absolutely love it. Rob, you want to say something?
If we're passing the torch.
Yeah, keep going.
I've enjoyed these. You guys have had a lot of people on talking about resilience. And on note on resilience that I think fits into our conversation, and especially for the film industry, it's a very adaptive by nature. It adapts quickly, and it makes a lot of money, so it has to adapt. But I think resilience is adapting. And I think by definition, it's adapting or a bounce back, which is not like the technical terms. But I don't think we're going to bounce back necessarily. I think there's a new normal going forward. I think we'll all have the experience of 2020 for the rest of our lives, and it'll change us. So in this adapting process, I think it's very important to have a lot of empathy for other people, because the world is going through this, and give yourself the space to adapt. So if you don't know exactly what you're doing right off the bat because all the puzzle pieces got thrown in the air, that's fine. Just do what you can, and then if you have to tweak and change a little bit along the ways, by all means do. But the truth is, right now, none of us have a blueprint for how to handle this or what comes next. So just continually make progress with it, which I think is very difficult. And remember that the entire world is doing that too. So that's resilience to me.
Love it. I mean, do you feel that while we have lowered expectations, a little bit, that the pace is picking up. It's almost like the demand is still there, but the flexibility that was in early COVID is kind of absent now.
I think COVID has some silver linings. I think a lot of people learned to manage their own time and to produce at a different rate in a different work environment. And I've seen some people incredibly adapt to that very quickly. And I think there are people who miss, the office space. And yes, when I say that we're not going to go back to totally normal, I don't mean we're going to be doing this forever. I imagine the three of us one day, when we're doing book reviews of Radical Candor, we'll be able to sit with microphones in front of each other and speak and whatnot. I think it's a slow process. I think it's just resilience is adapting with empathy and patience. And I think you're right. I do think things are moving in the right direction. Absolutely. But just keep moving.
Yeah. And it's tough. Like when I talk to some of my friends that have children that they have to homeschool plus do their job, and it's just so much. Like Rob and I, when we speak, I love watching his kids in the background. But I was thinking about it yesterday. We were talking, his kids were in the background. Rob is trying to focus with me, but he's trying to also watch the kids behind him. And I just could not imagine how the day would look like if it was like this all day. So when we're mentioning about managing stress and surviving this difficult period, it's pretty intense.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I shout out to the parents. I don't even keep my houseplants alive, y'all. Somebody else waters them. Like I am so impressed with people who are balancing it. My sister has 2 young children, and I'm in awe, and I feel almost like I don't have the right to say, oh, just hang in there, we'll all get this, because I don't have that level of complication. And I admire so much the parents that are finding that workaround and that balance. I mean, what a challenge. Well, kids are a challenge in general. Being responsible for another human's life, challenging, I would imagine. But an additional challenge, yeah.
So Rob, how are you handling it? What are you doing?
Oh, well, I thought there's 2 solutions that I came up with just this week, because this has already been a week. It's been a month this week. And two solutions. One, it's called the Bartesian. Have you heard about this?
No, tell us.
There's 7 people watching right now. 7 people need to know about the Bartesian. It basically mixes you mixed drinks. You pour gin, vodka, tequila, and rum, and you put them in the canisters. They're upside down. It's like a Keurig. You know what I'm talking about. You got your K-cups, right?
So this is like Betson's bartender.
The K-cup is basically the mix, and you press a button, and 30 seconds later, your mixed drink is poured. So that's solution number 1.
You drink it all day long?
Well, as long as I'm off camera. And then solution number 2, I realized I need to find a place to install like a punching bag, because gotta let this out. Gotta let it out. It's not working. I can't scream. I got neighbors. There's police. I can't hide the body. I'm joking. But how I'm handling it, I am literally let's just make it to the next class. Let's make it till mommy gets home. Let's make sure that we get food on the table. Like we're taking this step by step at this point. But it is a struggle, no doubt. 2020 has turned into being like that Mack truck that has 2020. Replace those 4 letters with 2020, and that Mack truck just runs over you, backs up, and the struggle bus is real because it just keeps doing that and repeat. So, but I'm painting a funny picture here. The point is, it's a lot to handle, and I can't imagine. You're right about the resilience piece. Everyone's having to adapt on a daily basis. Sometimes hourly changes during the day. So, I think we're all handling it the best we can. And Katie, we've seen the film industry kind of bounce back. We know that we're up against a lot of struggles now. I mean, do you have an outlook for maybe 2021? Can it look better than this year?
I think, yes, 2021 can definitely look better than this year. I'm just going to go ahead and throw that out there across the board.
Yeah.
But I would say for film specific, COVID specific, we've made a lot of strides in taking measures and whatnot. Filming is resumed, a lot of restrictions, of course. But I think it really kind of hinges on when we're going to have a vaccine, or at least a treatment that lessens the symptoms, or quicker testing, which I think we're very close to having instant testing. And that'll change how film sets run and how quickly everybody can get back to work. So I think you're going to see a trickle, and then as soon as you see advancements in COVID treatment and predictions, or diagnosis rather, you're going to see a spike in production pretty quickly. And here we have, I can't say anything specifically, but I can say that I'm hopeful for a very good October.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's not far away. I'll take that.
Yeah, end of October, but yeah, it's still not far away. But yeah.
Okay, I want to kind of, let's speed things up. Let's do like a little lightning round here. If you're cool with that, Katie, are you cool with that?
I'll tell you after, but go ahead.
Dima, can we shake things up a second?
Yeah, let's shake things up. Are you
share
bringing
like a feature or two? All right. If you're in the top, I guess, left corner, then you have to answer what your top 3 movies are. So, Katie, you're up.
Ooh, top 3 movies: Gladiator, African Queen, and Roman Holiday.
I got to be honest. I don't know about African Queen or Roman Holiday.
Okay, well, first off, shame. Second off, African Queen is Humphrey Bogart and Katharine Hepburn, and I demand that you both watch it. It's probably my #1 favorite movie. It's based on a book, the same author who wrote a book that Greyhound is based on.
Really?
Forster.
Oh, wow.
C.S. Forster. Is that right? C.S. Forster, yeah. And he wrote his books were about the exceptional occurrences in the human in a normal person's life, like the Greyhound captain and these 2 people in African Queen. Their extraordinary measures they take, and it's just beautifully told. Oh, wow. And one of the reasons you would love it too is Katharine Hepburn had a way of selecting. Katharine Hepburn was way ahead of her time, and she had a way of selecting roles that specifically benefited the messages she wanted to put out there. And a lot of that was strong female leads, capable women, things like that. Not necessarily a theme.
Yeah, not at that time, right? Uh-oh. I think we might have lost Katie for a second.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Oh, okay. All right. So we're going to switch things up then again. So, okay. Dima.
Okay, so one of the movies that I liked long time ago, and it's part of my story, is You've Got Mail. I don't know why I like that.
Yes.
Movie. And I even included it in my memoir, talking about how much I had to watch it. There's something about that movie. But the serious ones, yeah, here we go. The serious ones is I love Hidden Figures. So that is it's absolutely amazing about the women that are calculators and got us to space and to the moon. That's just absolutely amazing. And the third one, which I'm trying to remember the name, it is about the Supreme Court Justice, the woman
Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
And it's something about for something sex. I can't remember the name. Let me pull. I was just about to Google it. Movie for the.
So Katie, glad you're back on.
Sorry,
Video looking golden, looking great. You were finishing up with Katharine Hepburn, and so I wound up asking Dima the same question. And so far, she said, "You've Got Mail."
That's a good one. Uh-oh.
Hidden Figures and
I just Googled it. On the Basis of Sex.
and on the basis of sex.
About like how she was not promoted for the basis that she's a female. How she missed out on a lot of opportunities, including with like how she was treated at Harvard on the basis of her being a female. So I love that one, on the basis of sex.
Very good. Okay, that was good. That was a good one. Okay, so
your turn.
My turn. I'm probably gonna have a different route here, and so I understand that I'll be the outlier. My top 3 favorite movies got to be one is Airplane. I just love that movie. I can watch it over and over and over again. Another one it's not well known, but it's one from back in the 80s. There was this movie. I've only known a select few amount of people that actually know this, but just a few stars are in it, honestly. But it was about BMX bikes, and it was called Rad. So that's my number 2. No one knows that thing. No one knows that. But anyways, the third one's kind of tough because I want to say something along the lines of Star Wars. But I had a little another reminiscing moment the other day, and I have to tell you, Spaceballs is another favorite. So maybe I'm kind of shifting up my top 3 here, but I think I also need a comedy in my life about right now. I think that's what that's telling me.
You can watch it as you're drinking your drink.
Uh-huh. I ask people,
and punching at the same time.
The bag. Yeah, that's a good life. Yeah.
Watching a comedy, punching a bag. I ask people, so in the film industry, you do comps. Like if somebody's coming to scout locations, they'll say, Katie, I'm looking for, a scary house. This movie is a combination of Texas Chainsaw Massacre meets Look Who's Coming to Dinner. Go. And it's always like, it's just these two really movies that are not connected at all. And you go. So I've been asking people, if 2020 was a film, what would your comps be? And
yeah.
I can't take credit for this. One of my friends said it, but I think one of my friends nailed it. But I'll let you guys go first. I'd love to hear it.
Okay, Dima, you're first.
Oh my goodness. I don't know how to answer that. I don't know what's the meaning of comp.
Come on, it's like a mixture of You Got Mail and Jaws. You got this.
Oh, that mix of that. Yeah.
For 2020 as a year.
Titanic and the Hidden Figures.
There we go. Titanic and Hidden Figures. Figure it out and us crashing. Makes sense.
All right. I'm going to go next, and I'm going to say it's got to be for me, like the pace of things and just how crazy the world is. It's World War Z plus Outbreak.
Very nice.
That's where I'm at. Or maybe 28 Days Later, because it's kind of like both. And then I have another pick. But you got it. Now it's back on you, Katie.
So I'm going to steal it because it's my friend's answer. It was Contagion and Idiocracy.
Yes.
Terrifyingly accurate. Am I right? Terrifyingly accurate.
Oh, my God.
You laugh at
a little bit of Wag the Dog in there.
Yeah.
It's.
Did you guys ever watch Brink on HBO?
No.
Oh, it only had one season, and it was brilliant writing. It was the same kind of style as like Veep or In the Loop or anything like that. Political drama. It was hysterical.
Oh,
and
my goodness.
That kind of vibe, yeah.
Wow.
It's in that kind of year.
We can't talk to you without talking about food. So Katie is her own chef at home. And tell us about this new, well, maybe it's not new. You've been an amazing cook, and I've been to Katie's home and had the most wonderful dinners. But now you're focused more on it because it's a way to stay busy and keep up.
I cope in the kitchen. Like everybody has their thing. You've got your Keurig, booth, Jetson bartender thing, and a punching bag. We've all got our thing. And I literally it helps me. Like, for example, if I'm making bread or something, like get up, mix the dough, sit back down, work for 3 hours, get up, knead it for 15 minutes, sit back down, whatever you're doing, whatever you're making. So I cope in the kitchen like anyone, most of the people in my family, I feel like, but I cook up a storm, and my neighbors are fine with it because sometimes there's a surplus and I'm like, hey guys, just help me out.
Nice. What's your address, Katie?
Yeah, come by anytime.
So here's the funny.
That's not what I meant. That's not what I meant, wife.
Oh, that's not what it sounded like. Don't worry, you're fine.
So when I first came back from San Diego to Baton Rouge, Katie invited me to dinner, and
Nice.
I started thinking, I'm like, COVID and pandemic and social distancing, maybe it's not a good idea. So I called Katie and I said, well, let's just do drinks. Let's just go to the roof of the building that she lives at, and let's just have basic thing with social distancing. Until we got there and we were having our Prosecco's and no amazing food, until she started showing me pictures of what she is cooking. And I'm like, I don't give a shit about the pandemic anymore. I want to come and eat that food.
Dima's like, I'll die for a plate of pasta. Let's do this.
Nice.
Homemade.
That's good food.
Yeah.
She's doing everything. She's making her own baking powder. Everything from scratch.
Nice. I make everything from scratch. No chemicals, no preservatives, 100% clean everything, which means you have to make something every day. You're like, I think tomorrow I have to make our ketchup because we're out. I have to make our condiments, our ketchup, mayonnaise, mustard because we're out. I'll just buy those, go buy, make all our own breads, pastas, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm a big foodie.
So you tell me it smells amazing, and that's why your neighbors really don't mind.
Yeah,
because usually that means you have the extra food left over, and they got to smell it for the last 3 hours.
Yeah, that's what we do. Like focaccia Fridays, I deliver focaccia bread to my neighbors on Fridays and stuff like that. So
wow,
it works. Yeah.
Oh, bread.
Dude, bread out of the oven. Like, there's just not much. Like, you can deal with 2020 with hot, fresh bread. Like, you really.
Are you what kind of? I mean, you said focaccia bread, right? So, like, what else are you doing? Are you doing like a friendship bread?
I do all of it. I cook all of it. I'm telling you, I cook all of it. Made 2 hour seasonal.
Do you have a bread making machine?
No.
You're doing it without the machine?
Doing it without them. I mean, I use an oven, but other than that, no.
The original bread making machine.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not like stoking a fire anywhere, but yeah, I do clean when I can.
Wow.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
So, what do you like to cook then? What's your favorite meal to cook or eat right now?
People ask that, and I think we go through like cycles where it's like, all right, we had a lot of Asian food one week. We had specifically a lot of Korean food one week, and then the next week I did Japanese food. So I'll go through because if you make a sauce and you have a ton of it and you want to use it all, so if you're home cooking, you're 3 or 4 days not committed to that one. But I mean, generally, I'm most comfortable cooking anything Italian, French style. Because it's basically butter and cream. Like, I can make that.
And yum. A lot of that in there, too.
And yum.
You should see the picture of the chocolate cake.
Oh,
you bake, too?
Yeah, and I really shouldn't. It's bad. It's bad. That's probably been my serious quarantine weakness is I'll bake. And I can resist almost any cake. Like, I can make any cake, red velvet or vanilla or strawberry or whatever, and leave it on the table and not think about it. But not a chocolate cake. That is a personal struggle. Wow. That is resilience practice for me.
Are you having to cook every day then? Like, you're having to cook every day if you're having to make this stuff from scratch.
I pretty much cook every day. But I fit it into what I'm doing, and I use it to help me handle, like, if I'm working on a arduous report or something like that, or if I'm working on, building a location package for production that takes a very long time or something like that. And I need a guaranteed get up from it and walk away from it in order to do it well moment. I can be cooking something, so be simmering and I know I got to go back to it and things like that. So it's basically, other people like twirl a pen, or they listen to music, or people have that side thing to keep them from, mine's just cooking.
Nice. It's a good one to have.
That's a good friend to keep.
Yeah, that's how I make friends.
Someone who can cook, and someone who has a pool, and someone who's got a boat, right?
Yeah.
I don't have
a boat. I don't ever want a boat. I wouldn't mind a friend with a boat, but I don't want a boat. That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
I like to. I know my friends can have boats and horses and all those fancy cars and all those things, and I can enjoy them, but I'm not messing with all that. I'm very low. Like, I'm big on the simple. I live in less than 800 square feet. I have houseplants, as I said. I don't water them. Like, someone else takes care of them. I'm just very minimal. I'm happy with just being dedicated to the things I like being dedicated to, and not much of the etc. That's just my
Love it.
But okay, so I'm gonna ask a question, if I may. Do we have time?
Yeah, we have time. Okay.
So I ask people this, and you brought up your Jetsons bartenders, so I thought this would be relevant to you. If there were an actor that we have to all know, this can't be super obscure, that you would have a whiskey, a beer, a shot, a glass of wine, and a martini with, who would actors be? One of each.
Oh, that's a lot.
We can cut it back. Let's say a whiskey, a beer, and a martini.
Whiskey, beer, martini. Okay. All right. Dima, you got it?
Oh my, this is hard.
It's hard, isn't it?
I got you.
Okay, you got it. You
right.
take it.
Whiskey. It would probably still be Robin Williams.
Oh, good call.
Beer, Garth Brooks. Oh, is it movie star or is it like famous people?
Yeah, famous. You're fine.
Garth Brooks, beer. Martini, huh? Oh, I don't even know, but I would like to have a beer with I'd like to have the martini with Will Ferrell dressed as Ron Burgundy. Yes, that's how I'd like to have that.
I like that it came with the caveat. Like, has to be dressed as this guy.
Got to be in character as Ron Burgundy. Yeah.
Funny.
All right, come on, Dima.
I only got I got only the whiskey. I'm not good with names, so I can that stuff. But my whiskey is George Clooney.
Good call.
Oh, yeah.
Although I probably prefer tequila, considering he owns a tequila company. But yeah.
So what about you, Katie?
So it changes all the time. But I would think I'd have a martini with Jessica Chastain. I would have a beer with Tom Hanks. And I would have a whiskey with Meryl Streep.
Good one.
Yeah, I think that's
nice.
It's funny. I asked this question, and people, especially like over a dinner party or something, it gets heated. Like, people don't really think about it, and then it diverts. Like, hey, y'all play. Everyone who's watching, y'all play this game at home, because then you can do historical figures. Which my mother's a retired history professor, so that's like guaranteed 2 hours of conversation right there. And you can do, musicians, and do actors or anything like that. But yeah, and it's funny what is marketed to us, not only for the drinks and a certain personality for the drinks, but for the people. Like, I don't know if I get along with Meryl Streep. I don't know anything about her, but she's marketed to me as who she's marketed to me as. You know what I mean? So that makes sense.
Nice. Well, who would you do a keg stand with?
I can comfortably say I've never done that in my life, but if I were to,
got to pick though.
Jared Butler.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. I feel he's Scottish. I feel like it wouldn't affect him at all.
Oh,
and I feel like he's probably a pro at it, so he can be like, "This is how you do it." And I like hearing Scottish accents in general. So.
No, I like that. That's a good one. Yeah. I like that. Totally approve.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Dima, where are you at? You're going to go crazy and do a cake stand after.
Yeah. I am so bad at this game. Even though I'm enjoying listening to you, I'm just so bad. I'm not good with names. So I'm not going to be able to remember. So.
Okay, Dima, I'll give you a Hollywood question. I got these all day. We can do this all day. If you were to cast Rob, so Rob is Rob.
Oh, man.
Who would play Rob? What actor?
Oh, Lord.
I'm telling you, I'm bad with names. I know how to
keep asking questions.
I know. I come up with a different question. Okay, what's the one movie you can turn on?
Asking questions.
What's a movie you can turn on and leave on in the background all the time? Doesn't matter what day, what mood, nothing. It's just that movie that you can have on at all times.
Okay, that's a question I can answer. So there's a movie I turn on when I'm cleaning, and somehow it works. It motivates me to clean. I don't know why. It is called something something about Tuscany. Tuscany.
Under the Tuscan.
Under the Tuscan Sun. So that's the movie. I just have it in the background. I've heard it a billion times, but somehow that's my cleaning movie.
That's interesting.
I get it.
It makes sense. She says in that movie, start with one room and don't let the house beat you.
That's it.
So I feel like that works.
Boom. Katie, killing it.
No wonder. And then left and went to a whole journey of discovery. And
yeah, I can see you digging that while you're
surprise. Yeah.
That makes sense. All right, Rob, what about you? What's on in the background? Doesn't matter your mood or day.
Oh, for me?
Mm-hmm.
I do love Dima's call there, because I used to like that movie for the colors. I used to love seeing like the sheer, just not the videography, nothing like that, not the direction, nothing. I loved the scenery, like the shots were amazing, and the story was great. But I do like Dima's choice there. I went through phases with this, like you said. Like I totally went through a phase where it was, oh man, what was it? I had Shakespeare in Love. That was always in the background. There was a phase when I was, through college, American History X, for how blunt and how crazy. I know. But when that movie was introduced to me, it was like a development of thought, emotion, and all that together, right? So I didn't even know that movie existed. And then you drop all the race on top of it and stuff. So there was a time where I had that on, and that was just something for me to process in the background. But I have some weird ones, used to be The Matrix. Right now, I've had a good one with that Tom Hanks movie. I'm sorry, that's funny. The Tom Cruise movie where he was, why can't I think of it? American.
Oh, yeah, where it's set in Baton Rouge.
Yes, that's why I know it.
Filmed in Georgia, though, but set.
Yeah, right.
I know what you're talking about. I can't remember it either.
Not American Greed. Dang, I can't remember it. Anyways, that one was a good one. And when that's on, I'll watch it. I'll watch it. It's so fascinating to me.
Yeah.
So, Katie.
African Queen. I'll have it on all day, every day.
I got to watch this movie.
You got to watch it. Like, I'll have it on all day, every day. And then any kind of epic I can leave on in the background, because for some reason I can just like go in and out when I need to. And I'm a sucker for a cheesy action film. Like, pretty much seen all of Jason Statham movies. All of them. Yeah, and I'll watch. We called them Bang Bang Shoot 'em Up movies growing up.
Bang Bang Shoot 'em Up.
I will watch a Bang Bang Shoot 'em Up movie all the time. And I watch a lot of old films, like really old films. And then my grandfather had me addicted to John Wayne's westerns back in the day.
Really?
So I'll have those on anytime. But yeah,
wow.
I mean, they say we watch films. The infamous say that we watch films for multiple reasons, one of which is escape. And then one is to put us in a situation similar to the life we have, just how we would handle it. So put ourselves in the role of a character in a certain circumstance where we bring who we are to that. And then another one is to deal with life similar as we is. And the other one's to deal with how we would deal with a situation that we would never be in. Like I can watch a World War II movie, and God willing, I'll never be in a situation of that caliber.
Right.
And I can wonder who I am now, how would I handle that,
Well, we don't give movies enough credit, I guess, for that, or TV, but the movie was American made. That was it. He was Barry Seal. I found that fascinating. And that's one of the things that, it draws you to it, because I have to put myself in his shoes and be like, what was it like being in between the cartel, people who wanted to kill you, but the drug lords, and then the American government, like how crazy, and then try to keep things sane. So it is an escape, but you put yourself in that shoes, like how would I react? Yeah. What would I be like, and could I handle it?
Right.
Yeah.
I have my father does this, and I have another friend of mine that does this. They stop a film if there's a turning point and it goes downhill. So one of my friend's mothers, who's also a good friend of mine, she was on a date and she was going to see Dances with Wolves. And I don't want to spoiler alert. Have you guys seen it? I mean, everyone's seen it, right? No? Oh my God. Okay, well.
The movie's 20 years old right now. If you haven't watched it, they don't know.
It really is. But there's the plot kind of goes up, and there's this really happy moment, and then there's this really bad moment where everything kind of sinks, and then it's okay. But right before that really bad moment, so she was on a date, and they went to go see that movie, and one of her friends had told her that happened. So she's sitting there. She's just the pristine, lovely Texas woman, and she's watching it, and then it gets to right before that point, and she looks at her date and goes, "I'm finished." And like, "Are you not having a good time?" She goes, "No, this movie is finished for me. I've enjoyed it." And so they leave, and he thinks the date's gone poorly, and she's like, no, let's still go to dinner. The movie is over. She's like, "That's how I want the movie to end for me." And it has been years, and she's never seen it. She never went and watched it.
That is so funny. Well, Katie, this was a lot of fun. I'm so glad you made the time to join us, to chit chat with us. I know I learned a lot, just like anytime I spend time with you. You're fun, you're engaging. There's just so much to share. So thank you for all your work. Thank you for being on the show. And thank you for being such a wonderful friend.
Oh, thank you for having me. Thank you for being a wonderful friend. And I would be amiss if I didn't plug, I'm sure this has been mentioned all the time, but one of my favorite books that I can't wait to see on screen is Breaking Phases. And if you haven't read it, I highly recommend it.
We're working on it.
And now I'm forgetting her name, but I think it's not Kate Hudson now. Kate
Beckett?
Somebody, not Beckinsale either. Jeez. She was in Jobs, the Steve Jobs movie. Anyways, she could pull it off with Dima's accent. I think I already told her, I was like, that's who it is. Kate Winslet.
Ooh,
Kate Winslet cast.
We're putting the list together.
Yeah, I like
right
that.
There. I'll take credit for that one. Thank you, Katie, so much.
Thank you, guys. I really enjoyed it. Thanks so much for having me.
Bye.
Good night, y'all.
Bye.